Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of High Energy Girl. And today's amazing guest is Rachelle McCloud. She is an emotional wellness coach and mental health therapist. She helps people get rid of symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress in 2 to 6 months instead of 2 to 6 years. We talked about so many different things and primarily just really how to get on a positive path quickly. So let's go say hello to Rachelle. Hey everyone, welcome to High Energy Girl, a podcast helping women to age stronger because it is never too late to get fit, be strong, and feel sexy. I'm your host, Tracy Gluhide, health coach and personal trainer and founder of highenergygirl.com. Each week, we will either have a guest interview, which will provide you encouragement or an actionable tip to help you age stronger, or I will do a solo episode. Please also join our awesome Facebook group called High Energy Girls, and I'm looking forward to see you on the inside of that group and hope you enjoy today's show. Sleep is completely underrated, and so many women our age struggle with a really solid night's sleep. You want to know how I fixed it for me? Well, one of the things I did was I got a chili pad because I was always too hot and I'd be like tangled up in my covers, kicking them off, pulling them on. I could never find that sweet spot temperature, you know, the whole Goldilocks thing, too hot, too cold. And then I got a chili pad. My husband has his own control. I have mine, so I keep mine way cooler than he likes it. I'm never overly hot anymore. It is fabulous. And I even use it all winter long because you can adjust the thermostat any way you like. And I really love the white noise, the little hum that it plays. So the Chili Pad company, which is called Chili Sleep, has lots of amazing new products. They have pillows, bed sheets, weighted blankets, and the old-fashioned mattress protector Chili Pad that I have. It is amazing. So for a special discount price, head on over to bit.ly/chillsleep, CHILLSLEEP, and you will be thanking me later. Hey, Rachelle, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. So for the listeners that don't know yet about you, can you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I am a mental health therapist and emotional wellness coach, and I help people do the brain work for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. And I work with a variety of people, ranging from people with not complex issues with anxiety to very, very complex post-traumatic stress and anxiety and depression and some of the other stuff that comes with that. So I have just a really broad experience in working with different brains to get their brain to do the work of resolving and stopping symptoms and really opening those doors to wellness and creating that wellness. So that's me.
Cool. Well, how did you get there? Because I oftentimes find that people, when they find something they're really passionate about, that they have an interesting road to that place.
Yes. I come from a family of complex trauma and generational complex trauma. And I was, in these family dynamics, there's all these roles. I was in the savior role. And so I was very much encouraged to be a high performer and really be the evidence that our family is well. And so I took that on and I rocked things and I was high performing and all that. And, but I would have these mental health crises along the way. And nobody thought they were, it was not on anyone's radar, but after I became a therapist for a while, so I did the graduating school thing. I started practicing. I was doing all the things they taught me. I'm out here doing the whole savior thing. And and I was doing talk therapy, and I didn't know if I'm just bad at this, or if I just am, or if just talk therapy jazz is bad, but I was just mad and I quit. And so I was like, I'm not doing this. I can't believe I have a whole degree in this. And I left the field, and I went and was raising children. And I had, fast forward 3 years, I had 3 children under 3, and I was severely mentally ill. And was so confused. I couldn't solve any challenges that were going on. I was facing some real life challenges that were just overwhelming me. And it was just piling on. And my husband said, why don't you go get an evaluation, a mental health evaluation? And I didn't want to go to them because I'm mad at them, but I ended up going, and I was given the diagnosis obsessive compulsive disorder. And so this was just the tip of the iceberg. If they had better tools for this at the time, I would have been diagnosed with complex PTSD. But I look back in my life and I could see the obsessive compulsive disorder, and I was like, oh, how about that? And then I just started learning about this, and I started seeing myself, and gosh, I was equal parts excited and like kind of overwhelmed here. And right at the same time, I had this alternative healing practitioner come into my life. And I was looking for someone to help my son with some health issues that he'd had since he was a baby. And the doctors were just running me around and, giving me these opportunities to do these new things that I knew weren't going to work. They knew weren't going to work. And I just was mad again. And so I went to somebody completely different that the ladies at the park recommended. And she did this electromagnetic thing with my son, and she resolved his issue in 3 days. So I was like, holy cow. And I went back to her. I was like, I have some problems. Can that little electromagnetic thing help me? Anyway, after a session with her, she handed me the training DVD set for an alternative intervention for mental health. She handed me emotional freedom techniques. And this is a tapping intervention. It's like emotional acupressure. And it was not talk therapy. So I'm interested. And it was a little weird and cutting edge. That has me double interested. So I watched the tapes, and that night I'm laying in bed. I have insomnia. I can't sleep. I'm worried that somebody's going to wake up and I'm not going to get any sleep. And so something says, try that thing she gave you. And so I pull that thing out and I find the little spots, and I'm tapping about this I can't sleep thing. And I'm tapping, I get through a round and I yawn. And I'm like, oh, okay. But I'm really trying to do this intervention. So I do it again. I'm tapping through. I fall asleep. By the time I'm finished with that thing, I wake up the next morning and I'm like, what else can I try this on? I didn't even choose to fall asleep. And so I just started going after one symptom after the other. I started, and they just would resolve. It was like, I was feeling anxious one moment and now I'm not. And then I can see how ridiculous it is that I'm saving jars. Like, why am I saving jars? I'm compulsively saving jars. So I'm tapping about this and I'm letting the jars go. I take them out to the garbage and I'm just cleaning my life up. And I just really started having more clarity. The confusion left. And it was just like, I just felt like I just came back to myself, and I was like, okay, let's go, life. But anyway, that brought to my awareness. I thought emotional freedom techniques was it. And so I was like, if I ever go back to work, this is what I'll do. This little weird tappy thing is what I'm going to do. And so I did eventually do that. And then I got trained in another intervention that did similar this work, and it worked, and it was different, but it still got the same outcome. And then I was trained in EMDR, and that worked, and did the same thing a little differently. And I finally realized that it's not these interventions, it's actually our brain heals. We have a natural process for healing, and these interventions help the brain in that process right where it gets stuck. And so here it's like, you can just support your brain right over that little hump, and off it goes to resolving symptoms and healing and resolving things in minutes, because we're working with an electrical process. And so it's like in 30 seconds, 2 minutes, you can end big things like panic attacks and obsessions and compulsions and racing thoughts and insomnia. And so that's really why I'm here, because I really like instant gratification and results quickly. I love working with the brain like this. And really, in working with so many people, I really found a wonderful method to resolving one symptom after the other. And then not just that, but teaching them to do it, because once I could help enough people with this consistently, I was like, could we do this faster? And so then I started training them. And so we turned into this like symptom resolution team. And between sessions, they would be working on this. Then we'd work on this together. And then they'd keep working. And we were able to rewire and recondition and heal and then build wellness together as a team. And that's really what I do now.
Wow. And how old are your kids now?
Now I have a 16-year-old. I have 5 now, 16, almost 15. 13, 10, and 4.
Oh, wow. What a blessing.
Yeah, very much so.
That's awesome. So you've been doing this for what, 13 years about?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Where are you based out of?
I'm in Oregon. I'm in Salem, Oregon.
Okay. Awesome. Well, so now you've healed yourself, you've helped heal others. So let's talk a little bit about if somebody wanted to start, say that they had PTSD. I'm guessing it was something about maybe, did you have it because of like kind of a postpartum type issue, or
No.
did it have to do with your way back past?
I did have some postpartum issues. But the trauma, I'm like one generation from trauma. My mother was very traumatized. Her mother, our systems were very traumatized. So my mom protected me from a lot of that stuff, but she gave me her nervous system, which is what we give our children. And so I got a lot of trauma, and being with somebody who was coping with so much trauma is really traumatizing as a child. Like, she really wasn't able to do a lot of the being present, and she was very depressed. She was fighting things I have no idea. But there was a lot of things that she wasn't able to do for building wellness. Like during our early childhood, we're really building our nervous system. And so a lot of the comfort that we're getting, a lot of the availability the parents are giving us are actually wiring our system for wellness or not. And so a lot of parents that are raising children who don't have things wired into their system, like self-confidence or joy or, even just the knowledge of themselves, the ability to put thoughts and feelings into words. My mother did not have those things. The trauma was too overwhelming. And when she went for help, she went back for talk therapy. We know that this is not the best route for healing trauma. And so she didn't get to do this work of rewiring her nervous system, healing, and really helping me wire mine. So we couldn't put thoughts and feelings into words. That was something I had to build from scratch as a young adult. And so, yeah, that was, I don't know. I'm not certain if I answered your question, but.
Well, you led to another question. So do you feel that if you don't take care of, I want to use the word rewiring, I'm not sure if that's appropriate, or healing, maybe the brain, that it could lead to other physical brain issues down the road?
Yeah. It does shape it. It actually, our brain is formed differently. I mean, there's parts of our brain that are bigger than they should be when we're dealing with trauma and unprocessed trauma. There's parts of our nervous system that are underdeveloped because we don't have this. So there's a lot of brain stuff, but there's also a lot of body stuff that happens when we don't process trauma. Because if you understand, our system is always trying to heal the trauma. Even though we're consciously like, I'm not going there, I'm not thinking about it, I'm going to put the radio on, the music on, I'm going to do all the things so I don't think about this, that doesn't stop the body and the subconscious mind from continuing to try to solve the stuff. And so if it doesn't get what it wants, it can't help you create the wellness. Your whole team can't do that. And so really, when we understand brain function, like our body is supposed to be this instrument that helps us sense into the world and deliver information to the top of our brain about what's going on. And so all the positive information or the stuff that feels good or pleasurable that runs through our body zips right through that pathway and in that healing process. The stuff, that information that the body is receiving and is sending up that registers as as pain, the survival system's job is to keep us away from pain. And so it really closes down that pathway and shifts us into a survival mode. And so it shuts down the healing process entirely. And all of a sudden we're off in fight, flight, freeze, faint, or fawn. And it's not a choice. This is actually just how the brain functions. And these interventions that we use, we have the opportunity to speak to the survival system in its native language, which is the body, which is why these tapping interventions and the eye movements and the cross body exercises that we're engaging ourselves in, they work with processing trauma, because the survival system responds right away, receiving that message that we're safe, let that information through. And all of a sudden it opens up and all this electrical, emotional, somatic information just zips right through as well. And so that's why we're actually, with this work, we're actually helping the body and the subconscious mind do its fulfill and complete its healing work that it hasn't been able to do. And it doesn't, like, that survival system's dedicated. It's like pain out. It doesn't care if the pain was 20 years ago. It's still circling through. The body's like, here's that information you need right now. And the survival system's like, no. And then they're just fighting, tug of war. It's a mess in there. It's a mess. Because the thinking center, your prefrontal cortex, its job is to heal and solve problems. Well, it knows that there's a problem in this communication link. And so it wants to go grab the stuff. Oh, let me get that information. So that's, it's pulling up old memories. You're having flashbacks. It's like, ooh, let's get this through. No, the survival system says absolutely not, and down. And then it tries to pull it up. And so we have these circling thoughts, these flashbacks that we just can't figure out how to get away from, because as soon as we get a strategy, the whole brain figures out, oh, let's do this instead. And so it circumvents the strategy. And then you got to find another strategy. Right. And it's just working against the brain is just no fun.
Wow. It seems so complicated.
Yes. And it's so complicated. And here, if we just let the brain and body and the mind finish their work, we resolve symptoms, we grow, everything gets to go through the maturation process where we're more mature. All of a sudden we have answers for things. We have insights. We have the healthy behaviors we want. I mean, it's really, and like what, it takes 30 seconds. And for more complex memories, 40 minutes.
Wow. It takes 30 seconds. How does it take 30 seconds?
One round of emotional freedom techniques is 30 seconds. And so we're using these acupressure points to send that information to the survival system to open it up. That's 30 seconds of electrical information surging through your system, completing.
Oh, cool. So can you talk about how one would do a 30-second round?
Yeah, let's do it.
Just describe.
We'll experiment together.
Okay.
There's no guarantee this is going to work for every single person. It works about 80% of the time, which is a great,
great number.
It's a great number. And so, but it does work for 100% of the people. So if it doesn't work on this issue, try another one. So, but let's cue up something relevant to the listeners, because I like to do this specifically for what's going on in the inner world of people. Emotional freedom techniques is the simplest intervention to use. That's why I start with it. And it does have such a high success rate. I like that too. And it's instant, also positive. And I take the words out, because the words help with tuning in, helps us focus on things, which we're actually combining a focus plus a body intervention at the same time. So we get to choose what our brain's healing with by focusing on it. So we're choosing. But I like to solve our own problems and tune in based on just tuning into it. It's a good practice. So I'm going to have you and invite the listeners to tune into something stressful right now. Not too stressful.
Okay, let me think. Okay, so does it have to do with us, or can it be an outside situation?
Anything. It can be outside.
Okay,
somebody's annoying your neighbor. It can be you. Okay. And I invite you to take full responsibility for your participation, your use of emotional freedom techniques. There are no known side effects that I have encountered in any literature or studies. So, Okay. So you're thinking about that thing that's stressing you. And I'm going to ask you, what's so stressful about that? And just listen for the answer. Do you have that?
Do you want me to tell you what I'm stressed about and why it's stressful? Is that what you're asking me?
You don't have to. We don't have to talk about these things to help the brain heal either, which is really liberating because then we can process massive trauma without ever having to talk about it.
Okay.
So go ahead and keep it in your head for now. And then afterwards, we can talk about it for a bit. So you've got that, what the next part of what's so stressful. Okay. And what's so bad about that? Just listen to the first thing that comes up.
Okay.
Okay. And then I want you to sink into your body and just look around and see where your body is matching the stress. Because if you're stressed, it's stressed. Where can you find that stress in your body?
I guess kind of like in my solar plexus.
Yeah. Okay, great. And some people find it in their legs, their arms, their head, wherever. Just pay attention to that. And what color is that?
I'm just going to say yellow because that's the solar plexus color.
Okay. So let's just be paying attention to that. And how distressing is that? Let's ask that question. How distressing is that sensation, that stress in your solar plexus on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being maximum distress, 0 being no distress?
I'll say 6.
Okay. And so I'm just going to have you tap on the side of your hand here. This is that karate chop point, the opposite side of your thumb where it's all fleshy. And all of these taps, you can tap on the surface of your skin. So you can tap very lightly. And some people don't like their body tapped on at all. So they can come out in the field, like maybe an inch away and tap, like your brain knows what's going on here. So you can tap on that point like that. You want to tap about 3 to 10 times. Some people will do more, some people less. Okay, so we're tapping and go ahead and tap on your eyebrows. This is the point closest to your nose on the beginning of your eyebrow hairs. And then outside the corner of your eyes on that bone out there. And just thinking about this stress, wherever it is in your body, under your eyes. This is directly under your pupils and under your nose. Good. Under your lip. Just notice that what's so stressful about that and your collarbones. This is, there's these round parts of your collarbone right under your chin, and you're going to come under that an inch and maybe out an inch. You're not going to get this wrong. So do your best. As somebody with obsessive compulsive disorder, I would obsessively want this to be in the right place, but I literally have seen so many people be in the wrong space and it still work. So, and then come under your arms. This is under your armpits, about 4 inches. Like if you were wearing a bra, this would be right in the middle of that bra strap. And then come around to the front. You're going to be on your rib cage, like under your nipples, like maybe a couple of inches so not in the center, but right on your ribs right there. And then you're going to imagine you're shaking somebody's hand, and then your thumb is right there. And you want to tap on the side of your thumb that's closest to you by your nail. And then your first finger on top of that, on the side of that nail, your middle finger, same place at the tip of your finger by the nail, and then your pinky finger. A couple of taps at the side of your hand and back of your hand. Okay, and let's tap on the top of the head too. Okay. Now go ahead and take a deep breath, and I want you to tune back into that sensation in your body of stress and that stressor, what's so stressful about that. And I want you to see if it's the same amount of intensity, if it's gone up, if it stayed the same, or if it's gone down.
Okay, this is going to sound weird, but it has gone down. I would say it's like a 3 maybe.
Okay.
Which is surprising. I'm really very surprised. please forgive me. I have a dog at my feet and he just pushed me all away, like out of my way. So let me just squeeze back in here.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah, no, it's pretty interesting how that really, really, truly, I didn't get that like little bit of anxiety about it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And let me ask you this, and I'll ask the listeners this: why still a 3? Why not a 0? And I don't want it to be a 0. I would love that, but I'm not trying to make it a 0. I really want to know why still a 3. Is it because there's some stress left in your body? Is there a thought?
I think it's more of a worry because it's something not about me. It's about somebody else that I have no control over.
Okay, awesome. And when you think about that worry, where is that stress in your body? Is it in your stomach in the same place, or is that somewhere else?
No, it's more in my heart space because it's like love for somebody else and you worry about somebody else.
Absolutely. Let's all tap again. One more round, just because. Why not?
Okay.
So we're tapping on the side of our hand, our eyebrows, that beginning of the eyebrow point, outside our eyes, and just notice that sensation in your heart or wherever it is now, as for the listeners, and under your eyes, and under your nose, under your lip, collarbones, under your arms, and liver point, thumb, first finger, middle finger, pinky finger. Okay, and up top of your head. Okay. Go ahead and tune into that issue again one more time and see what you notice.
Definitely more peace. I don't know, a phrase comes to mind, let go and let God.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard that before, but that's kind of what
all
came.
Of that is really wonderful because when we have that stress, it's like it's our body is sending signals of distress to the survival system, right? And then you've got that nervousness and all that survival level distress in there, and the survival system's not really letting that stuff through. So you can feel it. It's kind of hanging around. All of a sudden we open that up and it's coming through, and we're going to see the front of the brain start doing things with that information, right? We saw that you have new ideas coming in. Your brain is starting to make connections with this energy and some of your own resources that let go and let God. Right. And so it's not just, it takes this energy and really transforms it. And then you start to have new insights. You start to watch your problem solving come on. You might, in the beginning, when we're beginning this issue, when we get a little bit through, it's not enough information for the insights and the problem solving to be perfect, but we see it happening. And that's awesome because this information, this stressor is finally getting to its destination, and it's the front of the brain is starting to work on it. And that's really what we want to see. We want to see all this stuff in your body really turn into words and turn into insights and turn in and be, and that's where it's supposed to go. It's like, let me send you all this information about what I feel about this worry, about this person in this situation. And so now that it's getting to complete that, everything's, it's just happening. And then you're resourcing, you're like self-comforting here. And we didn't have to say, hey, remember, let go and let God. No, your system works like that.
It's almost like you just opened up like a trap door or something, so that you could release it and let your body do what it wants to do naturally anyway. Would that be a good summary?
That's right. And the front of the brain right there, it knows what you want and what you need. And so if you find some of this stuff is information that's not really good for you anymore, it releases it. It's like, get this out of here. And so a lot of the stuff that we're carrying around that we're like, I just wish I could let this go. Well, your brain has a specific process for letting things go. Let's help it finish that process. And then it's done. It's gone.
So if a person were to use this on a daily, like it was just part of their work, their inner work, how much time would they be spending each day on average?
Well, it really depends on what you want to accomplish. When I'm helping
Okay.
somebody overcome a disorder, right, there's quite a bit of work of information and emotion and inner conflict and past traumatic events that have not made it through this process yet. So I really encourage them to do this work for 2 hours a day. And I give them specific instructions of what they're doing. And when I have them do this, it's like 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 1 minute here, 30 seconds. It's not like big chunks of time, though. Some people will find that they want to do an hour right now, or an hour before bedtime, 20 minutes before bedtime. It's up to them, really. But when we're talking about a disorder, we're talking about most of their brain is having a difficult time doing healthy things all day long, right? So we want to jump in there and help the brain be accurate and complete things and really start to, brains, 10 hours of this work, if you have a disorder, is incredibly powerful. And that's when I have to tell my clients, get back to work. Stop gawking around at all the awesome things your brain is doing and how great you feel, like, let's go. So, but you can use this for reaching your goals. You can use this for high performance and just bring it into a journaling session or a yoga or a meditation session, 5 minutes a day. And you're actually bringing your body and your mind through its own process. So they get to come to this yoga too. And they get to come and really benefit from the journaling or the meditation as well. So
ooh, I love how you said that. I just had a visual. I don't know if you know what yin yoga is, but it's basically when you hold a pose for a long time and you could be holding it and tapping at the same time.
Yes.
Ooh, okay, girl. I like that one.
And this is really a powerful integration because there's so much going on in yin yoga, and what if we open up the survival system if there's something difficult going through at that time? The prefrontal cortex, right? It's the problem solver. Whenever you're the quietest, that's when it says, ooh, look at all this energy and bandwidth that's available. We should go turn on big and go find some problems to solve. And now it's going and digging through the pile and trying to get stuff up. And so yoga is one of those times where you're not doing a whole lot. So there's a lot that front of the brain really wants to go do some work. And so, but if it's pulling up traumatic memories, if it's pulling up somatic distress, unresolved emotion, that makes it so people don't really want to finish the yoga, right? But if they are like, okay, let's put some tapping on this while I'm holding this position, but man, my brain's doing something. Let me just add this in and get back to what I'm doing.
Cool.
And so we can do this we can be trauma informed in the yoga and really amplify the brain's ability to resolve trauma wherever we are, because our brain is constantly pulling from our past to understand the present and the future. And if it's pulling from timelines that are traumatized, we're going to feel it. And it's going to be all in our face as if it's happening now. And that's really difficult to work through, but it's like you can step back and tap and let your brain sort it out. And then next thing you know, it's you can be in the present moment and be grounded and centered.
Yeah, I love it. Do you have to tap that exact routine each time?
No. Emotional freedom techniquers will say yes. and thoughtful therapy people would say yes, but it really is not true. And and especially if you're in a panic attack, your prefrontal cortex is pretty much shut down, your thinking center. Your survival system shuts that part of your brain down. So that's the place where you have your resources and your skills. And if you can't access that, it's like, and you're tapping, you might be tapping all kinds of out of order, but you're still going to be able to provide that support. It will work.
Okay. I love hearing that because I don't know. I'm kind of like one of those, what would you call, free spirits? And I have a hard time my husband's the exact opposite. He's the OCDer that saves the freaking jars. The other day, my son's like, why are there so many empty bottles of rubbing alcohol on dad's tool bench? And I'm like, I don't know, but go throw them away for him, will you?
Yeah.
So,
and that I love it when people really, use their intuition and their inner knowing and their inner guidance with this stuff, because we want to customize all the tools for each individual nervous system. And so you're going to know before I know that your nervous system really wants those collarbone points. So I've had clients that are like, oh gosh, I just need to stay right here. I'm like, let's stay, we're staying. Right. And because we want to be in touch and in step with our own self, that's part of wholeness and like the integration and wellness that many of us are disconnected from because of our traumas, or maybe we were the parent to our parent. And so when we were little, we paid more attention to those outside of us than really doing that, spending the time and attention to learn how our system works, how all these flashing lights and emotions within ourself work. And it's just, this helps us to come back to that and do that work and really get connected deeply, learn to trust ourselves, learn to navigate this body and listen to it and honor it, really, and honor our own knowing.
I love that part. And what about I feel like it would be helpful to do like a full class or something like that. Do you teach classes online or workshops or things like that?
Yes, I do offer workshops. I offer overcoming anxiety workshops, and we actually do the work. I love to talk about this stuff, and that's fun, but I really like to have people just jump in and get busy working with their system and resolving symptoms. Because if you can resolve one, that means you can resolve two. And if you can resolve two, you can resolve 200. And that is really, really empowering. And I like people to get that experience. And so I do offer workshops. I also have developed a curriculum for people wanting to overcome anxiety, depression, or traumatic stress. And this walks them through each layer of the work that I found that needs to take place for healing, and then also for building in wellness. And then I also offer an intensive coaching program where that curriculum, that online program, is the root of the foundation and framework of that, but I'm walking with people every step of the way through that process intensively.
I hear your fur baby too.
Yeah. He thinks he needs to be in here.
Mine is old, so I always let him be right here next to me at my feet. That's the only place he likes to be. So, that's awesome. So how can we find out about the workshops, programs, all of that good stuff?
On my website, that's really the best place. And that's RachelMcCloud.com. And my name's spelled like Rachelle. And I'm sure you'll have that in the notes and the links. But RachelMcCloud.com. And in there, I have access to the healing opportunities that I offer, and also training. I talk about how to resolve these things. I really empower people to do their own work. And I have a blog and email list, YouTube videos, whatever.
Oh, cool. You have YouTube. I love YouTube.
Yeah.
Whenever we want to fix anything, that's where we start.
It's awesome.
That is awesome. What's your YouTube channel called?
You know what? I think that I don't get one of those original names yet. So,
but you have something named. So if we're searching it up, we can find it, right?
Getting rid of anxiety with Rachel, or Rachelle, as my name is spelled. But it's one of those that has a handle with letters and numbers in it.
Okay, but they can still search you up by your name, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And they can find me on my website there. My YouTube channel is on my website.
Oh, there's a link right there. Okay. That is awesome. And how often do you run your workshops?
I offer 3 different ones at this time. I offer one for moms, one for everybody, and one for teens. And so I offer them every 3 weeks nice. In sequence. So it comes out to be every month and a half.
Okay. Oh, so you do 3, 3, 3, and then you start back over?
That's right.
Okay. That is awesome. I'm sure teens need it. Gosh, darn it.
Oh, and they do this work so well. It's like they don't have all this time making everything so complex and disordered. It's just, they get the tools and they just start healing. And sometimes I have to admit, I'm jealous. I'm like, I wish I had this when I was a teenager. And then it's like they're understanding concepts I wish I started understanding at 40. So I'm like, whatever. So,
isn't that great though, that you're helping facilitate that? I mean, I'm with you. I feel like I'm quite a bit older than you, but I had trauma with my mom and dad and all of that, where I was the parent. At least I felt like it for a lot of times. So I totally hear what you're saying. Yep. So that's really good that these kids can learn skills that we were never able to learn when we needed to learn them.
Yeah. Yes. It's really, really fun.
And with the teen suicide rate and all that I'm sure, I don't know, you probably know better than me, but I feel like it's probably gone up quite a bit, especially in the last 2 years.
I don't have a pulse on that. I mean, I have teenagers that have suicidal thoughts and ideations, but I look at those as a specific brain function and symptoms that a lot of times it's hopelessness that cannot move through the brain's process. So we help process that hopelessness. Some of it is panic, right? Or fear or grief. And so I'm interested. I'm like, well, what is this? So this is something we have open conversations about, and not something that needs to be suppressed. You know, I will have clients write out poetry where they're expressing and working through those thoughts, and we're using these interventions to really process that. And so with hopelessness, it's like one of the building blocks that when the brain can get it through the process, it gets converted into hope and courage. And so it's really an important resource to when we have lots of hopelessness moving, because your body's sending that message for a very specific reason. We don't have to know what it is to use an intervention and help it get through. But once it gets through, it gets converted and it gets moved into all that we are in the prefrontal cortex, our desires, our goals, our knowledge, our resources. And then it becomes the building blocks to our next level of wellness. And so, I don't necessarily go out there because there's quite a bit of work here to do. But it's really beautiful when they can learn how to work with that energy, that emotion, and not be afraid of it or suppress it or hide it. Yeah. And actually, it's brain food.
You nailed it with hopeless. That word is what I feel like came to mind to me with, and that was one of my traumas, is somebody that I know who I love very much. I feel like they are struggling at a young age. So, but it affects me because of course I love them. So it's hard to watch people, who aren't in a place that you feel like they might have been able to be into, if that makes sense. So, well, I enjoyed learning this technique from you so much, Rachel. Like, I think it's awesome, the work you're doing. And I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show. Can you let the listeners know your website?
Yeah, it's rachelmccloud.com, and that's RACHELLEMCCLOUD.com.
And of course, we'll have links in the show notes page. So thank you so much for sharing everything. It was beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, that was a really fun time. I hope you enjoyed her beautiful wisdom, and you can find her links on the show notes page at highenergygirl.com/show. Thanks for listening. Make it a great day. This podcast contains the opinion and thoughts of its host and guests. It is intended to provide helpful and informative material on the subjects covered. All statements made on the podcast have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. If the listener requires professional assistance or advice, please contact your personal medical doctor. Both host and guest specifically disclaim any responsibility for any liability, loss, or risk, personal or otherwise, which is incurred as a consequence directly or indirectly of the use and application of any of the contents of these episodes. Like I said, this is my opinion and I could be wrong.